Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Damascus Mintzmeyer, and this is the Critical Blast podcast. Your regular host, R.J. Carter, isn't here tonight. He was exposed to red kryptonite and is now somewhere in the Phantom Zone. Don't worry, he'll be back tomorrow night. In the meantime, we have British author Ryan Woods with us tonight, whose debut novel, The Journal of Cinnamon Page, Undeath by Chocolate, is available on Amazon. And he is here to discuss the ins and outs of the creativity of his writing and his journey through life. So, Ryan, I'd like to welcome you to the show. And I would like to, I always like to start my interviews like this. Who are you, what do you do, and why do you do it?
I'm a writer of, well, some people would say speculative fiction or horror, whichever you prefer to call it. I'm a lover of horror. I've had a love of horror since an early age, a lifelong love of horror from when I was a kid. I think I started off with my parents used to watch the old Universal Studios double bills on a Saturday night. That kind of gave me a love of horror to start off with, and that moved on to the old Hammer horror films with Christopher Lee as Dracula and everything. I think the first horror book I ever read was James Herbert's The Rats, And basically that's what developed an interest in the literary form of horror. From there, it's just developed from there. It's always been something that I've loved. I've just said, oh, it's so hard to explain. It's just something that stuck with me from an early age. It just grew and grew, and it's all I do really. It's all I watch. It's all I read. My daughter always criticizes me. All I watch is horror films and everything, but that's just something I like. And I decided about 2013 when the idea for the book first came to me. I thought, everybody else is writing books. I thought to myself, I'll have a go at that, and so I did, and the rest, as I say, is history. But so I started off with around 2013, came up with the idea for the journal Cinnamon Page on Death by Chocolate. It just developed from there, really. But I've been writing for quite a few years. I've written all kinds of stuff, from erotica to poetry to children's stuff. I also work as a ghostwriter. Obviously, can't say what I've written because that's all kind of, secret. You write the story, then you sign away the rights and everything. So I do that as well.
Right.
But, it's quite interesting. I try and do my own stuff as well. So keep myself busy one way or the other.
It's very interesting. So tell us about Cinnamon Page. Tell us about where the inspiration came for. Tell us about the character. Tell us where the inspiration came from. What gave you the idea for it, and about the world and the characters.
Well, funnily enough, she starts out live with a different name. It originally starts out as the character was called Paige Turner because it was a little play on words. I like doing plays on words. But at the time, I realised there was another character already called Paige Turner. So I thought, well, I can't use the same name, so I'll have to come up with something else. So I thought, well, we'll drop the Turner, we'll keep the Page, we'll make that the surname. And I thought, well, I need to come up with a Christian name now. So, anybody who knows me knows that I like to bake, I like to cook. One of my favourite smells is the smell of freshly baked cinnamon. So I thought, well, Cinnamon Page, yeah, perfect. So I had the name. And I thought, well, I need a story now. Well, I'll explain. I have a lifelong love of horror, and one of my favourites subgenres of horror is zombies. I thought, well, I'll write a zombie story, but I thought, well, I'll make this one a bit different. How can I make it different rather than just, the toxic waste kind of thing or whatever? I thought, I need to have a different...
More in my night.
Yeah, yeah.
Got my Night of the Living Dead shirt on. Yeah.
So I need to come up with a different idea. I thought, well, what can I do? And then just per chance, there's a dessert over here. I don't know if you guys have it over in America, called Death by Chocolate. It's like a cake. It's like an overdose of chocolate candy, so they call it Death by Chocolate. And I thought, well, zombies are the undead, so why not have undeath by chocolate? But then obviously I had to think, well, if it's undeath by chocolate, how do I turn it into a story? So I thought, well, around the time when I first came up with the idea, there'd been the earthquakes in Haiti and everything. All that was going on around the time. I thought, well, Haiti being a home of voodoo and the zombie legend, I thought there's got to be some way I can work that into the story. So basically, Cinnamon Page lives with her parents above their confectionery shop called Coco Loco. And her father's kind of obsessed with chocolate. He seeks out suppliers further afield and more exotic suppliers to try and give his chocolate a little added touch. And he was cycling by some cacao nibs from a plantation in Haiti. Unbeknownst to him, the land that the plantation is in has been cursed by a voodoo high priest. So anything that grows on land is tainted or cursed, if you want. And then, so he gets the cacao nibs, turns that into chocolate. Anybody who eats the chocolate and dies and comes back a zombie with a bad case of the munchies. So that was basically the story.
Oh, I love that part. I love how you use like old school like voodoo inspiration for the zombies instead of like having it being a virus or a radiation from space or what have you. You take it back to the core of what it's supposed to be.
Well, I thought obviously it's ideal thing to do. I mean, like I say, the Haiti legend comes from the zombie legend comes from Haiti. Voodoo comes from Haiti. I thought, yeah, why not do that? I mean, like I say, the toxic wasting has been done so many times before. I needed to go with a different angle, so it seemed to fit the bill really well. I
like your publishing company is actually called Tainted Candy Publishing.
It is, yeah, Tainted Candy Publishing, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. A little nod to the tainted chocolates.
It is, yeah, definitely.
And you actually are like a chocolate connoisseur yourself. Are you a confectioner? I know you're a dessert crafter. I know
Yeah,
that much.
yeah. Desserts are my specialty. I mean, I've enjoyed cooking since I was at school. I mean, there's one bit in the story where I described it. Cinnamon Page's dad, he went to school in that era where children had to learn to cook and sew whether they wanted to or not, even the boys. And that was pretty much what it was like when I was at school.
Hmm.
You had the sewing classes whether you liked it or not. I mean, boys didn't want to do sewing. I mean,
Yeah.
they think, no, that's not a boy thing, is it? But you had to do sewing as well as cooking. Well, sewing I didn't really care for, but cooking for some reason I just really took a liking to it straight away. And from my days at high school, it developed from there. And I've always had a love of it. But like I say, desserts have always been my speciality, and particularly anything to do with chocolate. So there's quite a bit of me in Cinnamon Page's dad. You know, we're similar character really.
Yeah, I'm a foodie myself. I love
Yeah,
cooking and baking also. But the stuff you post on Instagram, you have a very high level of skill
yeah,
in dessert. I'm always greatly impressed when I see those. I'm always like, oh man, that
yeah.
looks so good.
No,
But
funny enough,
uh,
my cooking posts are more popular than my writing posts.
mhm. But
Yeah,
you're talking about Cinnamon Page's dad. I love the relationship between Cinnamon and her dad in the book. It's a very positive
it
relationship
is.
she
Yeah,
has.
it
You
is.
see a lot of angsty teenagers, and they're always fighting with their parents and everything. I
Yeah,
really like to see it when they have a good relationship with their parents, and I really like that.
yeah. That's nice. Well,
That,
it's
that
strange. It's funny because the time when I started writing Cinnamon Page, my daughter was actually the same age as Cinnamon Page
hmm.
when I first started writing. So it was kind of like it was my relationship with my daughter was in the same kind of era, the same kind of passage of time as the Cinnamon Page and her father's was. So it was kind of like a nice little, cute little thing going on there. So my daughter always used to joke to me. She used to say, "Dad, it's a bit strange that you can put your head inside the mind of a 13-year-old girl," and she always found that a bit disconcerting, really. So I think she always wondered how I managed to do that,
But
but I think I pulled it off.
yeah, I like how Cinnamon has she's very unusual. Like she's born on Halloween.
Yeah,
Um, she has the two different colored eyes,
she does. Yeah,
and she's left-handed. And I like how she's like a misfit. She doesn't fit in
yeah,
anywhere. It really I can identify with that as a character.
yeah.
I really like
You and
that.
me both. Yeah, she was only just born on Halloween,
And
just
then the
just
humor.
by 1 minute.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And I like the humor. It's a very humorous book.
yeah, it
Also,
is.
you've got a very good balance between horror and humor in there.
Yeah, she's
Is
definitely
that
one.
something that you like? Is that something that you like? You like to balance humor and horror?
I do. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see a horror film has humor and it doesn't work, but then you get like
Hmm.
a really good one like the Evil Dead or something like that. A real
Hmm.
classic, and you think, yeah, that really works. So yeah, I think if you're writing a horror book or reading a horror book, it's always nice just to have that little bit of a release, a little bit of breathing space where it's not all full blown horror, blood and guts flying everywhere. You can have a little bit of respite by injecting some humor into it. I think it's always a good thing. Just helps
Mm.
with the flow of the story, helps you give you a break from everything. I don't think any story needs to be, full on 60 miles an hour all the way through. You need these little breathing points. So yeah, I try and inject a little bit of humor in the story. But I do it with all my stories. Obviously, if you read any of my other stuff, there's always trying to inject a little bit of humor into every story, whether it's a novel or a short story. So even my poems, there's always little bits of humor in them.
Hmm.
It's always something I've tried to work into it.
Yeah, Cinnamon has a very distinct voice also because it's written first person. It's like her journal.
Yeah,
Um,
it is. Yeah,
so it's very distinct in her voice, and you write you have a very good you write a teenage girl very well.
right. Yeah,
Like you managed to channel right into that. Did she
right.
like channel part of your like teenage self into her? You like is that part of your experience as like a teenager that you
A little
put
bit,
into
yeah,
that?
yeah, a little bit. But like I say, also because when I first started writing, my daughter was the same age as Cinnamon Page. When I first started writing
Hmm.
Cinnamon Page, my daughter was 13, so I got to see all the quirks of a 13-year old girl firsthand, really. So in that respect, it was quite easy to just to use that in my stories. I could just use all the stuff I saw my daughter doing, put a little bit of a funny twist on that and put it in the story. So I had like a constant source of inspiration from my daughter every day. So it was quite easy to do, really. But she still found it a little bit, like I say, still found it a little bit disconcerting that a grown man knows what a 13-year-old girl feels like, which is she found a bit strange.
It was a long journey to write this book, from what I understand.
It was, yeah.
I've seen in the past, it was 12 years, I think, was it, to write the entire book? I think I may have seen you say that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all because I'm just a slow writer. That was part of it. I mean, I'm not the most prolific writer, but I started in 2013. The idea first presents itself to me. That's when I first got the idea. I started writing it then. But in 2014, my mother was taken. She was terminally ill with cancer. She finally passed away in August of that year, and that kind of derailed me for a while, probably for maybe a couple of years, because everything just went. It was a really dark time. I obviously didn't feel like writing then, so the novel actually went on the back burner for quite a while, probably maybe up to 2 years. And I took it back up again, took the mantle back up again, started to write it again. Eventually finished it. Obviously, you're aware that it went to Deadman's Tome when it was first published. Then Jesse took it on and pushed it through Deadman's Tome, and then eventually, when he decided that publishing wasn't his thing anymore, he was concentrating on the podcast and everything. The rights reverted back to me, and I thought, right, well, what do we do now? Do I go and look for another publisher, an indie publisher, or try and reach out to one of the the bigger ones, a traditional publisher, do a self-publish it, or what do I do? And I thought, well, if I'm going to self-publish it, I can kind of go a little bit further. I'll self-publish it, but I'll try and do it through my own imprint, and that's where I came up with the idea of changing kind of publishing. So I thought, yeah, all kind of came together all nicely, around the same time. So it worked out well, really, in the end.
Yeah, I admire your tenacity and not giving up in that project. I may say, I've always admired that, because a lot of other people have just been in hell with it. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to finish it. But yeah, you've taken it all the way. And a lot of people may not know. I actually did the cover art for this. Ryan commissioned me to do this. I did some of the interior drawings also. It's one of my favorite covers I've done. I really enjoy this. I find it very easy to like align myself with the Cinnamon Page world. You write some very vivid scenes, and there's a sequel in the works. And is it going to be a series? Is it going to be like a full series, or I know a trilogy is in the works?
No,
but is it going to be a series beyond that?
Yeah, it'll go beyond that. I never really, even now, I don't know how many it'll be, and it's not anything I really sat down and said, yeah, I'm going to write 2, or I'm going to write 3, or I'm going to write 4. I just knew that I wanted. I developed this character who I love. I love her like she's like a second daughter to me. But I always intended for it to be more than one. I don't know, like I said, I don't know how many, but it was always kind of like in the Harry Potter vein. They'll progress from one to the other. You'll get to witness the character growing in age and stature and everything. So I know I'd say 5, 6. I honestly don't know, but there's definitely be more in the pipeline. So yeah, it's going to be an ongoing saga. She's a character I really enjoy.
Let's talk about this.
Sorry?
Let's talk about the sequel a little bit more. What's the name of it? I mean, and what's the premise?
Right. So obviously everyone starts, because everyone's written in the same format. It's supposed to be a journal. My intention was that the reader would read it and imagine they're reading somebody's journal. So everyone will always have the prefix of the journalist on the page, and then whatever the the NC. So the sequel is the journalist on the page and the death metal messiahs. It's set in the town where Cinnamon and her family relocate to after Summer Meadows has turned to shit, for want of a better way of putting it. So they moved to a town called Wrath, quite fittingly. Which is quite a nice, quaint little town when you first move there. But eventually, a rock band turns up, and it turns out that all the members of the rock band are actually demonic demons. So they really give death metal a good, the name death metal really stands out for the name. But basically, it's the death metal band, when they play their music, it kind of possesses people in the crowd, and then they then become kind of demonic. But I wrote a poem years ago when I was a member of a Facebook group writing poetry. They used to have 2 prompts and pick up 2 words, and then you write a poem from it just from those 2 words. And I created a poem called Night Train to Valhalla, and in that there was a character called Lyric Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Lyric Storm is actually linked to Undeath by Chocolate, and she's also linked to Death Metal Messiahs. But I won't say too much. It will kind of be a bit of a spoiler. But yeah, what I decided at one point was that I wanted to link every novel as well, even though each one will be a separate entity to the others. It will be a standalone novel on its own. I also wanted to have a tentative link from one to the other. So in a way, Death Metal Messiahs is linked to Undeath by Chocolate, obviously more than just the fact that the character is Cinnamon Page again. And then Death Metal Messiahs will be linked to the follow-up one, which I always had the name in my head, Cinnamon Page and a Graveyard Ghoul. So we'll see if it turns out a bit or not. It may change, but that's the way I'm leaning to at the moment. That's the direction I'm going in. But yeah, it's going to be. Sorry.
The name of the band in the book is Cannibal Wedding. I love that.
Yeah. Cannibal Wedding.
It's very death metal. I love that.
Yeah.
I love the way the cover turned out. I was really pleased with that.
Yeah.
And the internal art is turning out very, very well. I can't wait for people to read that book.
Yeah. Like you say, Undeath by Chocolate was an amazing cover, but Death Metal Messiahs, you absolutely knocked it out of the park. It's amazing. And the internal sketches that you show me already for the album cover, I can't praise you highly enough. Really, it's everything that I hope for and more.
Thank you. So, what films or TV shows or books influenced Cinnamon Page? Like, what were you thinking of when you wrote that?
To be honest with you, I think the biggest influence, although most people read it and they say, "Oh, it's very Whedon-esque," and they kind of think, "Yeah, Buffy the Vampire Slayer," that kind of thing. But I was never thinking of Buffy the Vampire Slayer when I wrote it. Around the time I wrote it, my daughter was reading the Derek Landy novels, Skullduggery Pleasant. So I think it's maybe a little bit of that what influenced me. You know, I think that kind of bled into what I was writing. So if I was to say there was an influence, I'd probably say it was more an influence by Skullduggery Pleasant than by Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Though I'm immeasurably gratified when people say, yeah, it's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So I even use that as like a tagline now that Cinnamon Page says, "Move over, Buffy, I've come to claim your crown." So I like when people say it's very Whedon-esque. I see that as a huge compliment. So I can live with that, even though it wasn't a direct influence. I'm happy for people to make that connection.
So finish the following sentence. My favorite scene in Cinnamon Page, Undeath by Chocolate, is...
I would say, I was wondering if you might ask this, I would say the to be or not to be scene, because I can mention that without spoiling the book for anybody, whereas my other scenes that I like, I could probably couldn't really go into too much detail without, giving a spoiler. But to be or not to be, it's just it's a really standout scene for me. It's also one of the amazing pieces of internal art that you did, and it was it was a very, very pivotal scene because it was the first time that Cinnamon Page actually encountered one of the undead. So to me, that was like the first really pivotal scene in the story. So yeah, for me, that's the one scene that really stands out.
I love that scene too. I particularly enjoy the humor in it afterwards, where she doesn't know that the victim was a zombie and she thinks she's murdered somebody.
Yeah.
And she's freaking out because she's like, "No, I just put the body in the backyard and covered it up a little bit. We might have some problems here. I think I'm going to get arrested."
It's kind of down. Kind of down I'm to find myself in.
But yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
But let's see. Let's see. Let's hop in the DeLorean here and travel back in time. What was the young Ryan Woods like? Like when you were coming up? Like You're from Northern England. You're from Lancashire.
Lancashire, yeah. I'm a Lancashire lad, born and bred.
Mm-hmm.
What was I like when I was
Mm-hmm.
growing up? Painfully shy is what I was like when I was growing up. Painfully shy. I really was. I was. I mean, you look at me now. I'm 6 foot. Oh, sorry, 5'10", 200 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
bearded, tattooed.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at school, I was a tiny
Mm-hmm.
little thing. I was like knee high to a grasshopper. I mean, I was like my mum was 4'10". She was very small, and I was smaller than that. I was like a tiny little thing. You know, wouldn't say boo to a goose. I was small, I was slim, and I was as shy as anything. So throughout school was quite painful. Really, it was quite a difficult time for me. Um, you know, some people sail through school, some people hate, and I was leaning more towards the hate part of this, part of the spectrum.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's where the word horror came into. It's kind of like a form of escapism for me. I'd read books and I'd just lose myself in a good book, and it takes away from all the shit that's going on in your life, really. So, I didn't have a.
I hear that.
My childhood wasn't particularly happy. Not. I mean, my home life was, but school life and stuff like that, it wasn't. It was painful at times, but yeah. So I just sought escapism in books and movies, basically. But always horror. It's always been horror. Never changed.
What was the first horror film or horror book that really captured your imagination as a child?
Oh my. First horror film, I would say, I mean, like I mentioned before, my parents used to watch the double bills on a Saturday night, the old Universal Studios ones. But I think the first horror film that really had an effect on me was, we were about, I think I was about 12 or 13 at the time. And my mum, God bless her, she'd let me Skype off school to watch these two films because we'd just got our first ever video recorder. And we'd gone down to the video shop. We rented these two films. And I was underage to watch them at the time because they were like definitely 18 rated. And we rented. Let me think. What was it? We rented Zombie Flesh Eaters, Lucio Fulci's Zombie Flesh Eaters, and David Cronenberg's Scanners. And we had a double bill.
Oh wow!
They were the first. They were the first
exploding
things.
Heads. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the exploding head scene in Scanners. Yeah, never forgot that. But I think, like I say, because we watched Zombie Flesh Eaters, I think that's probably what ingrained in me the love of zombies. So I'd seen it at such an early age. I think that's where my love of zombies really came from. That one film in itself, it really had a profound effect on me. So yeah, they were the first.
I can see that. I can see that in Cinnamon Page because Zombie Flesh Eaters has the like more voodoo origin.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that movie too. I love that. There's that classic scene where the spike of the wood goes through the lady's eye. That is really cool. Yes, classic scene.
That in itself is kind of similar to the to be or not to be scene. So yeah.
And the shark, the zombie versus the shark scene. That's classic. I love that. Absolutely classic.
It is.
And I actually heard somewhere once that the person who did the makeup for that movie didn't like Tom Savini's makeup for Dawn of the Dead. He thought it was too fake, so they used clay on the actors, and when it dried, it looked like actual dead flesh, which I thought was genius because when you watch the movie, it's like, yeah, they really do look dead. I mean, the makeup effects in that film are astounding. And, I'm a big Fulci fan. I'm a big Fulci fan myself. I love Gates of Hell and The Beyond, House by the Cemetery, New York Ripper, all this stuff. I love that stuff.
Funnily enough, I just watched Zombie Flesh Eaters just the other way, funnily enough, just the other week. So yeah, I had a blast from the past just recently. But yeah, I always love zombie films. I think my favorite zombie film of all is City of the Living Dead. That's my favorite one.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It is.
I love the storyline in that is. Some people say it's confusing, but I don't think it's confusing at all. It's kind of like a dual storyline, and they kind of meet like halfway through.
Yeah.
But that one, that's the one where the guy gets the drill bit through the head. I love that. For
me, the scene I'll never forget is where the girl vomits up all her intestines or internal organs.
Oh yeah.
Never forgot that scene. It's stuck with me since then.
That's one of the wildest scenes in horror, I think, right there.
I had the
But yeah.
privilege of watching it before it ever got banned. So yeah.
So what were some specific writers that inspired you as a youth to like what made you want to be a writer? I know you like Dean Koontz a lot.
I do, yeah.
What,
I was thinking earlier, you know, who inspired me. And I know some authors will definitely point out a specific author and say, you know, he really inspired me, or even a specific book. And to me, there wasn't really anybody I can put my finger on that would say, yeah, that person inspired me, or I wanted to write like that person. Obviously, like I say, James Herbert's Rats was the first real horror book I ever read. But if I was to say I was leaning towards somebody's style of writing, I would say, like you said, Dean Koontz, because funnily enough, my favourite novel is actually Odd Thomas, and that's probably the kind of writing I lean towards. I always describe my writing as less is more, but it's not all gore, you know, and eyeballs flying across the pages and everything. So I like to. I always say that I write character-driven horror, and that's the kind of stuff I like to write, stuff I like to read. So yeah, I'd say if anybody inspired me, Dean Koontz, probably more than anybody else. But then there was also the British writer Graham Masterton, who was always who's been quite a big influence on me as well. Because funnily enough, one of his books, Flesh and Blood, actually mentioned in that the poet Stephen Mallarmé, and that's strange enough. That's where my love of poetry originally came from. I researched Stephen Mallarmé, and that's how I kind of got into poetry from that point on. But obviously, that also devolved into darker poetry. So it was never about, you know, rainbows and flowers. It was more. If you've ever read any of my really dark poetry, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's not pretty stuff. It's dark, just like anything else. All right.
Well, there is no light without darkness. So
that's pretty true.
You know, there's room for like the pretty romantic poetry, and there's also room for the darker stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't have one without the other.
No, got to take rules with smooth.
And you've not many people may know this, but you've gone through some dark challenges and times in your life yourself. I mean, you're a stage 4 cancer survivor.
Yep.
I mean, that takes many people may not know that, but you're one lucky devil. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you've come through a lot. You've overcome a lot, and I've always admired that. Also, you never gave up.
No. Well, like I say, I lost my mum to cancer in 2014. But I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that 6 years later I'd be diagnosed myself with cancer. And just now, look, it happened right in the middle of a global pandemic. We were stuck right in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. It was like July of 2020. It was really at its height. So I couldn't, when I went for my consultation, I couldn't even have anybody with me. You know, you're allowed to take somebody for emotional support, or whatever. But because of the strict rules because of COVID, I couldn't even take my wife or anybody else with me. So basically, I had to sit there in a room with a complete stranger and be told, you know, you've got late stage cancer, stage 4 stomach cancer. No, we can't cure it, but we're going to try and do everything we can. Well, luckily, the upper GI surgeon said they couldn't cure it, but my oncologist had a completely different approach, and she said we're still looking at it from a curative point of view. So basically, I just took on board everything they said. You know, I thought, well, you know, I've got a family to look after. I'm not going to just lie down and, you know, let it eat me away. So I went through months of very strong chemotherapy, and that went on for about 4 months. And then in November of the same year, I had major surgery where they removed 3/4 of my stomach. You know, originally, they were going to take the whole thing out. But as it turned out, the chemotherapy worked so well that they were able to save 1/4 of my stomach, which doesn't sound like a lot, but to me that was like winning the lottery. So they did that, and I remember just waking up from the surgery and the surgeon saying to me, you know, we've got rid of the tumor, we've got rid of all the residual cancer cells and everything. So, you know, basically what he was saying was you're cancer free, you know, touch wood. So yeah, they went through major surgery and then further months of chemotherapy, and touch wood, it's 2 years on now, and I feel pretty good, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, you've always that dark cloud hangs over. You always have it at the back of your mind. If you get a bit of a pain, a bit of a niggle, you know, you get a headache, and you think, oh God, you got a brain tumor, or you'll get a bit of a backache, or you think, oh, it's a cancer going back, it's gone to my spine. It's just you can't help it. And when you suffer from cancer, it's just, it's even when you cure it, it's not something that goes away. It's a dark cloud that pretty much hangs over you for the rest of your life. But you try and put it back in mind, you move on. So, like I say, I consider myself to be extremely lucky. It's funny that you should mention Lucky Devil, because I once bought a scratch card, and the scratch card was actually called Lucky Devil, and I scratched it off, and it wasn't a winner. Funnily enough, it wasn't a winner, but normally I'd throw them in the bin after I scratched them off if they weren't winners. For some reason, this particular one, I put it in the doorwell of the car, in my door. Now, I don't know why, because it wasn't winning, so normally I would have just thrown it away. Now, the very next day, my wife and I, we were doing a car boot sale. We were in a horrendous car crash. We probably should have both died in the car, because it was that horrendous. When I was finally called by the salvage yard to say I could come and collect anything from the car that was salvageable, I went along and I opened the driver's side door, and I swear to God, it's the honest God's honest truth. I opened my driver's side door, and there, right on the driver's seat, was his scratch card, Lucky Devil, with the devil looking up at me and laughing his head off. And I swear to God, that is a gospel truth. So I still have that card now, and I laminated it, and that was in. My daughter was about 1 or 2 at the time, so it would be. She's 21 now, so that's like 19 years ago. And I still have that scratch card. It's laminated. It's in my wallet. Goes everywhere I go. So yeah, I like to think it's like a lucky talisman for me. Well, yeah,
definitely.
I'm actually in the process of turning that into a story as well. So I've got a story in the pipeline called Lucky Devil with a similar kind of scenario. So it's been an inspiration in more ways than one.
That would be Critical Blast as a series of like devil-related anthologies.
Right.
Yeah. The third one, I think the third one is going to be called "The Devil You Know Best."
Right.
But that would be a very interesting submission for that. I think.
I'll bear that in mind.
We'll have to talk. Yeah, there we go. We got the plug. But yeah, let's talk about it. I have to talk about RJ. I have to talk to RJ about that. That would be a very interesting story for that. Yes. So changing gears into something lighter. Let's say Netflix options Cinnamon Page for like a series or something.
Okay.
Who would you want to be the director and the stars of that, if you could pick?
Oh, that's a good one. Director. I'm inclined to say John Carpenter in his prime, as in 1980s, The Fog. If not John Carpenter, maybe Wes Craven, or maybe Frank Darabont, who directed The Shawshank Redemption. I think any of those would do it justice. With regards to the cast, I always used to think years ago when I first got the idea of Cinnamon Page, I always used to think to myself, if this had ever made into a film, who would I want to play the character of Cinnamon Page? And at the time, because it's like 10 years ago since the idea first came to me, I always had in my mind that Chloe Grace Moretz would have made a perfect Cinnamon Page. Obviously now she's quite a bit older, so I don't think she'd really fit well now. So I was thinking about this again the other day, and I thought, who would I pick as Cinnamon Page now? And the only one I can think of who I think would carry off that kind of misfit, kind of loner persona is maybe Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. Obviously, she'd have to die, but Cinnamon's dad, let me think. I'm inclined to say Bob Odenkirk, who plays Saul from Better Call Saul. Cinnamon's mum, Liv Tyler, I think, Cinnamon's mum. I think she'd do quite well. The only one I know for a fact who I would pick, and I would say there's no other woman on the face of the earth who should play the part of Eloise, Mrs. Winterbottom, or aka Stella Scream, Pam Grier. I've never had anybody else in mind other than her. Pam Grier needs to play that part. If it ever gets made into a film, Pam Grier.
I can see that. I could see that. That would be funny.
She'd make a perfect one.
That'd be really funny.
I mean,
so a related question.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can go.
Well, I was going to say, if the character of Stella Scream was Caucasian, I would have said Adrienne Barbeau, because I'm a huge fan of hers. But because she's African American, I would say definitely Pam Grier. So nobody else would role for me. So
a related question: if Hollywood decided to make a Ryan Woods biopic, what actor would play you?
Oh God. Would have to be somebody a bit slightly unhinged, because my life has been a bit of a roller coaster ride. So I'm trying to think who could pull it off. Woody Harrelson, I think. I'll go with Woody Harrelson. That's what I think I picked.
I can kind of see that. Plus, he was in Zombieland.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I could see that. Yeah. Yeah, he could have his Tallahassee persona.
Exactly.
Do you like Twinkies? On that notice from Zombieland, because was he hunting down Twinkies and all he could find were snowballs?
A Twinkie bar and get a snowball instead. Honestly say, I don't think I've ever had a Twinkie, which is strange because my wife's actually American, so she knows what Twinkies are. But I honestly don't think I've ever had one. But, something I've never tried.
They're interesting.
Yeah.
Your desserts that you make are much better, I assure you. All right, let's see. Let's have some lightning round of this is the fun questions, the silly questions. All right, all-time favorite movie.
All-time favorite movie: Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, wow.
No competition.
That's a good one, though. That is a very good film.
It did use until Shawshank Redemption made. My all-time favorite movie used to be Birdie with Matthew Modine and Nicolas Cage. A lot of people probably don't even know of that film. That used to be my favorite film for many years till Shawshank Redemption came along, and now Shawshank Redemption, hands down, I can't see anything replaced as my favorite film. No, it's up to me. It's up there. It's right at the pinnacle of movie making.
I like that because it's based on a Stephen King story that's not like a horror story.
Yeah, exactly,
I mean, it's like Stand By Me was based on The Body, which also wasn't a horror story. But I like that shows that a lot of people just typecast him as the horror writer, but he's actually just an overall good writer of horror or otherwise, because he also likes that character-driven horror.
He does, yeah.
But that's a very good choice. So what would be your favorite horror movie?
Favorite horror movie? No competition once again. The Fog, 1980, John Carpenter. I've watched that 30 times, if not more. It's still a classic. You know, I can't see any horror film ever replacing that as my favorite film. So yeah, The Fog, hands down, no competition.
Yeah, that is a good one. John Carpenter's stuff is he was like people throw the word visionary around a lot, but he really was in a way.
Oh, he was, yeah, definitely.
And each project is like very different from the other. Yeah. Like there's Halloween is like the stalker slasher, and not very gory either, because a lot the gore came when slasher genre came later, like Friday the 13th and stuff. But then there's Fog, and then The Thing, which is just like I mean that's the effects in that are.
That's a close second. The Thing is a close second. Yeah. That's another amazing film.
I love practical effects like that from the 80s, and more than I like digital.
Yeah,
digital. I've heard it said before that no matter how fake a practical effect was, it was still real, or no matter how real a digital effect is, it's still fake.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's so true.
But I like that analogy because it's true. Yeah. But the Fog's great though.
It is.
That is awesome. A very good one.
Yeah.
All right. Your favorite guilty pleasure movie? You know that movie that kind of sucks, but you like it anyway.
Oh God, that's a good one. Let me think. You might have actually got me stumped there. I'm trying to think of one. Favorite guilty pleasure film. For a horror writer, it would probably be, because it's nothing to do with horror, probably one of the old Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce Sherlock Holmes films, because people would say, "Oh God, what would a horror writer or want to watch that kind of stuff? It's old, it's black and white, not even scary." But yeah, I'd probably say that's one of my guilty pleasures, something like that, an old Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes film. Yeah.
I think mine was the only one I ever really had was when I was like 15 or 16. Independence Day came out, and that movie's just not very good. But I was like obsessed with that movie when I was like 15. But that movie's awful though. But
yeah, I think I was obsessed with Back to the Future when that first came out. I remember going to the cinema on my own. I'd go to cinema on my own. I'd cycle all the way into
Those are
the next time down just to watch it on my own. I did that 4 or 5 times in a row. So
the Back to the Future films are undoubtedly my favorite films of all time.
I know
Like,
one of your favorites.
Yeah, Back to the Future Part 2 especially. That one,
Right.
just the plot and how they go back into the first film.
Yeah.
That had never been done before, and I was like 8 or 9 when that movie came out, and I was just like, wow. And just I love the vision of the future too. I mean,
Right.
the real 2015 was nothing like that 2015, but I love how positive that future is.
Yeah.
You see a lot of negative dystopias in sci-fi, but I love how positive that future was.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are undoubtedly my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, I thought they were. I thought I was seeing you mention that they're some of your favorite films.
Let's see, your favorite TV show of all time?
Breaking Bad.
That's a good one.
I love Breaking Bad. I'm currently watching The Boys. I was late to the party for that one, The Boys. I'm really enjoying that. But,
I love the comic that's based on. That's a really good one. Yeah, check that out.
Character of Butcher, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently they're talking of him playing a part of Wolverine, which I think he'd be ideal for. I think he'd really carry that role off. But yeah, favorite show, definitely Breaking Bad. Absolutely epic.
Favorite musical performers? I just picked top 5.
Top 5, in no particular order. Sabotage, Prodigy, Creed, Chemical Brothers.
Oh yeah.
Last but not least, Queensryche.
No,
they would probably be my 5.
The Prodigy's The Fat of the Land is probably in my top 5 albums of all time. That may be like number 2 or 3 on my list.
Yeah.
That is just amazing.
I thought if you asked me the question what my favorite album is, that would probably be my answer. It's an absolutely amazing album.
I think I was 15 when that came out, and that was like that and Depeche Mode. I heard them first within like a week of each other. I never heard of electronic music before, and I remember distinctly listening to Firestarter on the radio, and I was like, "How did they get the guitars to sound that way?" Because I had no idea what electronic music was, and I was just like, "How did they do that?" It's just I was so unsophisticated, but I was like, "How?" But very good. The Chemical Brothers also. I love that that 90s electronic music.
Hey Boy, Hey Girl is one of my favorite song of theirs.
I like the one they did with Bernard Sumner from New Order, Out of Control.
Right.
Excellent. All right. Favorite food?
Favorite food? Anything Mexican. I love spicy food, but Mexican is my favorite kind of food, yeah.
Favorite dessert?
Ooh, tiramisu.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah,
I like tiramisu.
My wife and I once went to a small Italian restaurant and a few towns down from us, and I've never had tiramisu in my life. And we went to this Italian restaurant, and we had pizza and pasta, and then we got dessert. This tiramisu was on the menu. I'd never heard of it in my life before. It was strange because I love desserts. I thought, I'll try that, and I tried it. Absolutely loved it. Straight away, I went into town, bought a cookbook that had a recipe for tiramisu in, and ever since then, I've been making my own tiramisu. So I've actually been asked to make it for people who've been throwing dinner parties. So yeah, tiramisu definitely my favorite dessert.
Cool. All right. If Ryan Woods was a superhero, what would be your code name, your superpower, and who would be your arch nemesis?
Oh my! What would my name be? Oh, you've really stumped me now. I don't know if I'd be a good superhero or a bad one. My son really likes the Invincible graphic novel.
Oh yeah, those are good.
There they are. They're good. What would my name be? The Chopper. Super Chopper. Super Chopper. I would have an axe that shot out lasers or something.
Oh, that's good.
My arch nemesis, the woodcutter.
I like that. All right. You wake up in the last movie you watched. How do you fare?
Last movie I watched, what would that be? That was Hell House LLC. I'll probably end up dying, I think.
All right. You're stranded on a deserted island. What three things do you bring with you?
Right. What's the things I bring? Obviously, books to read,
Mm-hmm.
movies to watch, and desserts to eat. So
Ah,
I'll be happy.
perfect.
Books, films, and dessert. What can go wrong?
Oh, it's good. I like that. Okay, you get to have dinner with any three historical figures, living or dead. Who are they?
Oh, that's a good one. Possibly H.P. Lovecraft for one.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think. Neil Armstrong. I'd love to know what it was like to go into space and walk on the moon, although some people claim they never did.
Mm-hmm.
And let me think of a third one. Abraham Lincoln.
Hmm. That would be an
Yeah,
interesting dinner
it was.
conversation. Yeah. Yeah. Lovecraft is, that would be just to sit down and pick that man's brain.
Yeah,
Just
exactly. Yeah,
how unusual his thought processes were.
yeah.
I mean, just you could get a lot of psychologists would have a field day with him. I think
Yeah.
nowadays
You,
they'd be
you talk
like,
about you talk about influential authors. Now, there's one who's
hmm
probably influenced more authors than anybody else. You know,
hmm
his influence on the horror genre is just so
yes,
widespread that it's I think everybody's been
yeah.
influenced by him in one way
But
or another.
I got someone that is right there. Yeah, one of
Good
those.
taste,
He's one of those that has had a profound influence on me. You can't really see it
right?
in my writing, but
No,
just the concept of cosmic horror
yeah,
was something I'd never been exposed to, and I was like,
hmm
wow.
yeah.
All right, Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, or the Evil Dead remake? Which one?
Evil Dead One for me always,
Right, I
definitely.
love that one.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
a classic.
also one of my favorite, probably one of my top 10 favorite horror
Yeah,
movies right there. I remember the first time I saw that, it was just like, wow.
yeah.
Just you think it's over. It's not over, and it's still not
No,
over, and it's still not over.
no, it's not obvious that the fat lady sings.
All right, you go back in time and you meet 13-year-old Ryan Woods. What advice do you give him?
Um, Start writing sooner,
Mm-hmm.
and don't let anybody put you down. Don't let anybody say that you can't do anything. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. So don't give
Good.
up. Start writing sooner, and don't take no for an answer.
That's good.
That would be my advice.
I like that. Because I was like you in school. I was like, when I was like 12, 13, that's when I like retreated into like horror and comic books
Mm,
and stuff because I was getting bullied and picked on at
right.
school. And it was like
Yeah.
my retreat, my escape. I
Yeah.
wonder how many people out there, they don't realize, like people who, creative people don't realize
Mm,
sometimes how much their work can mean to other people like us
yeah.
when we were that
Exactly.
young.
Yeah.
I mean, if it weren't for that, I mean, what do you escape into then?
Exactly.
But I think a lot of creative people don't understand how important their work can be to somebody in that
Hmm.
respect.
I mean, in that respect, I think books are like other people's drugs or other people's alcohol. Obviously,
Hmm.
a lot safer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You find that genie's lamp that you've always been looking for.
Mm.
What three wishes do you wish for?
What three wishes? That my children never have to worry about money. That my children
Hmm.
will always have money and will never have to worry about their health.
Hmm.
Um, that people would stop hating each other and practice love instead. There's too much hate in the world. It's we're
Definitely.
destroying this planet. Um,
Hmm.
you know, it's easy to be nice and to be horrible. So you should always be
Hmm.
nice.
True.
Number three, let's clean up the ocean. Something that would clean up the oceans in one fell swoop, because
Hmm.
the Earth is 71% water, and
Hmm.
if we just pollute that, then we're basically knackered. We have nowhere to go.
Right. Those are good. I like that.
Yeah.
So, what's next for Ryan Woods?
What's next? Well, obviously the journalist and page and the death metal messiahs is first
Hmm.
on the agenda. I've got a short story collection that I've been working on for a while called Salting the Meat. Dark poetry collection called Vices and Verses.
Right.
Obviously, you and I both know that we have two-headed horror that we're still working on.
I was going to mention that because I don't know how many other people actually know about that. We've kept that pretty well under wraps. But that's going to be for people that don't know. That's going to be 6 of my stories, unreleased short stories, 6 of yours, and we're going to collaborate on the 13th story.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think I'm thinking I should do some interior illustrations for that. That would be
definitely
cool. It'd be a nice little package.
It would, yeah.
So you heard it here first, world. You
Yep.
heard it here first. yeah. We've been planning that one for 2-3 years now. But that would be definitely moving forward on that. That'd be great to get that released in the next year or so. I'd love that. Any shout outs you want to give to anyone who may be listening right now?
Just anybody who follows me on social media, supports me on social media, anybody who's bought the book since I reissued it. Just anybody. I mean, anybody who gives me support, even if it's just like a like on a social media post or a comment, it doesn't take a lot to do, but for people who put a post there, it means a lot to them. So anybody who just supports me in whatever way they can, whether it's buying the book, following me on social media, spreading the word, sharing the post. So that's anybody who's helped me out along the way. It's not always an easy journey being a writer.
True.
I always say that people can either act as a roadblock or as a guide along the way. So anybody who's been a guide, anybody who's helped me along the way, that's they're who I give a shout out to. They're the unsung heroes.
That's great. And social media gives us it gets a lot of bad press, and some of it's very well deserved. But I think it allows a connectivity between people that otherwise wouldn't have any. Like I never would have met you, we never would have collaborated on a project otherwise. So, but definitely, I want to give a shout out to my friend Kim. She's got COVID right now, and she better be watching this. I told her about this in advance, so I hope you get better soon, Kimmy.
Right, you better soon. Oh, is Kimmy Monster?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Get better soon.
Yes. So thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And Ryan. And remember, everyone, I want to remember Cinnamon Page and not the Death Metal Messiahs. That's a sequel. Undeath by Chocolate. Yeah. This is actually my signed personal copy. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But remember, it's available on Amazon right now. You can go there and snatch it up. And it was great having you as a guest tonight, Ryan. I am so glad I finally got to actually talk to you face to face after knowing you for so long.
We missed out last time.
Hopefully, this will be like the first of many podcasts that you do. And when the sequel is done, we'll come right back here because we'll do another show.
Absolutely.
But what's the timetable for the sequel to be released?
I always said that I actually wanted out for this coming Halloween, which might be a bit of a tall order, but that was always what I was aiming for, because obviously Cinnamon Page's birthday is Halloween, so I thought, well, if we can get it out for Halloween, that'll be ideal. So I'm still aiming for that. I'll just have to pull my finger out and burn the midnight oil a bit and get tapping away on them keys. So that's still the plan. Hopefully Halloween. Watch your space.
That sounds pretty cool. So thank you, brother. Thank you for being a guest on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Can't wait to talk to you again, and I can't wait to keep going forward on all our projects.
Exactly. And, two-headed horror.
Right. That's right.
Two-headed horror.
Right. So thank you, and thank you for everyone for watching this show tonight.
Thank you.
And remember, like, share, subscribe on Critical Blast on YouTube, and that's it. Night.
Thank you.